G'day everyone, welcome back to another video on AI agents. In today's video, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into Amazon Bedrock agents, and we're specifically going to look into something called multi-agent collaborations. Now that sounds like a bit of a mouthful, but honestly it's not that bad. Basically, we have lots of little agents that do their own specific jobs, and then we can enable some collaboration between all those agents to achieve a greater goal. And that kind of mimics what we do in real life anyway. So the scenario I've got today is a fictional tool shop, which is kind of fitting really because I've got my tradies high-vis top on as I've been in the shed all day. So without further ado, let's get into it. So let me start by talking a little bit about multi-agent collaboration, what it is and how it relates to today's video. So we have 5 AI agents set up today, and we're using something in Bedrock called the supervisor pattern. And that allows you to pick one of your agents and make it a supervisor, which we've done for the customer service agent. And then you can allow collaborators to that agent. And that's what I've done for these 4 agents underneath. My scenario is pretty simple. We just got 1 supervisor and then 4 underneath, but obviously you can make this as complex as you need to if you have way more agents. So the way it works is a customer will come up to the customer service agent and ask questions. They could be simple questions such as what are your opening hours? What are your contact details, for example? What's your manager's email address? That kind of thing. And the customer service agent should be able to answer those questions on its own. It may need to go to a knowledge base or to a tool to get certain things, but generally it can answer those on its own. The interesting part comes when a user comes up and says, what are the delivery schedules? What are the delivery prices for zone 7, for example? Or they come up and ask information about products, such as what plant works well on a south-facing wall in zone 6. Or they're asking electrical questions, for example. Now, the customer service agent isn't expected to know the answer to those questions, but they should be able to know who they can go to get more specific advice. And that's kind of how it works in the real world, right? You'd have your person on the front desk, you talk to them, and then they know who to go to afterwards. And that's exactly what we're mimicking here with the agents. And lastly, we have a Bob. Now, I don't know what it's like around the rest of the world, but certainly here in Australia, every hardware shop has got at least one Bob. Sometimes they've got multiple Bobs. And Bob is the person that you would go to for questions that people just don't know the answer to, right? So maybe you've got this obscure tool that you need a part for and most people haven't seen it. You'll go and ask Bob. And the reason you ask Bob is because chances are he spent 40 years in the trades and he's now working at the hardware shop part-time in his retirement. But this is the guy who's a fountain of knowledge and you will go to him. Now in today's video, Bob is an AI agent. However, this is where we could bring the human into the loop. If this was a real agent setup in a real tool shop, you may have people talking via a web chat interface into your customer service agent, or they could even be on the phone. You know, you could call the phone, get an automated customer service agent, and then that can delegate out to the other agents. But if there's a question that they can't answer, that's where they would route to a real person. So Bob could be a real person that will pick up the phone. So that in a nutshell is how our scenario is going to work today. So how does it actually work? So if we go back into the customer service agent, because that's our supervisor and that's how we've decided we're going to interact with these agents, we come and talk to this one directly. So I'm going to go over to this test window here and I am going to make that a bit bigger, and then I'll get rid of my screen because I'll be in the way otherwise. So I've got some prompts that I've prepared. So let me just copy these in. So the user is asking about a particular type of hedge. They're also asking about delivery, and they're asking about some garden lights. It doesn't say anything about electrical, it just says garden lights. So that's important to note. So let's run that. And there we go. So here is the completion from the supervisor. So this is the final response. Blah, 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 blah. It's asking to provide some more information. And it also says, hey, I can escalate to Bob. Oh, he's a good guy, isn't he? So over on this side, we have a span. So this is telling us how long things took. So the call to the customer service agent, the overarching agent, was 5.38 seconds. And we can see at about 1 3/4 seconds, it made 3 calls to the sub agents. So it did plant agent, and then almost immediately after did delivery, and then the electrical. And then the time after here is where it will be looking through those 3 responses and coming up with a final response. So that's pretty good. If we scroll down, we can see the traces, and the traces will just tell us the steps that the agent took. So if we look at the first one, it's a little bit horrible to read, but what I tend to do is I go down to the rationale, and the rationale is where the agent starts talking to itself and thinking about how it's going to handle the request. So you can see here it's saying this falls under the plant category. I'll ask the plant agent. Then it says the user wants to know about delivery. This falls under the delivery category. And then it's asking about garden lights. This falls under the electrical. Okay, so it's already understood that garden lights means electrical and not something else. So it knows now that it needs to go to 3 different agents to get the answers. So if we go to the next section, the invocation input, so that's telling us about what the agent called. So we can see here that it's made a call to the electrical agent, and this is what it's asked it. Then it's also made a call to the plant agent, and here's what it's asked the plant agent. And then here's the call for delivery. Can you deliver 20 bags of soil? So those are the 3 invocations it made. It also gives you the trace ID as well, so if you ever want to look up more about what happened, you can do. Then we move on to the observation. So this is what we got back from those 3 invocations. So you can see here on the delivery collab, this is the output, and the agent is basically just asking for more information, which is fair enough. The plant, again, it's asking for more information, and then I think also the electrical is asking for more information. Yeah, so it doesn't matter too much in the grand scheme of things, but I'm more just demonstrating the interaction between the 2 agents rather than what they actually get to at the end. And then if you go to the second step on the trace, this will be where the agent comes up with the final response. So if we go down to rationale, so here we go. It's basically saying that the 3 agents need more information. So now it's going to ask the user for that extra information. And it's also going to suggest that they can escalate to Bob if they want a decision. And then this is the final response that it came up with. So that looks pretty good. Typically this comes back to what I said earlier about the prompts. So garbage in, garbage out. That basically means that the user would need to specify more information from them. And we can also adjust our prompts on the customer service as well. So we can say that if it wants to speak to the delivery agent, then it must provide the suburb and postcode and the contact numbers and the preferred delivery times. Just so we don't have to have that back and forward, we can make sure that comes in at the start. So what I'll do is I will end the session. One of the things I've learned is that if you don't do that, then it actually retains some memory. So when you ask it a second prompt, it won't actually call the collaboration agent. It seems to think that the customer service agent can answer those based on its previous knowledge, which sometimes isn't right. So I have to clean those. What you could do in a real scenario is just make your sessions short-lived, or make sure every prompt goes onto its own session. So here comes the second query. So talking about heavy table and delivery and extension leads. So we can see this time it's gone to the delivery and it's gone to the electrical. It hasn't gone to the plant because we haven't asked anything about plants. And bit quicker this time. If we look at the traces, let's see what we got. So again, in the rationale, it's talking about the delivery agent and then the electrical agent. It's made the 2 invocations. It's got the observations, and again, the agents are asking for more information, which is fair enough. And then the trace at the bottom would have the final output. So what I'll do is just one more quickly. We'll end the session again. Let me paste in the 3rd prompt. So we can see this time, because we're talking about an outdoor sensor light, and we're not really asking it anything about plants or delivery, it's just only gone to that electrical agent. We still have 2 traces. So the first one is where the rationale, it's decided that it needs to go to the electrical agent. It's made a call to the electrical agent with that question. Yep, and then it's come back with that. And again, it's attempting to answer it, but it's still asking for more information because we didn't specify enough. We've just said replacing an outdoor sensor light. We haven't said, what rating it is and so on. So this very much mimics what we would see in real life, right? They would need more information. And then lastly, we have the completion down here. So there we go. There's a quick demo. Check the links below if you want to play with this yourself. So I'm logged into the web console. I'm in Bedrock under the agents page, and you'll notice that I have a bunch of agents already set up here for the tool shop. I will put a link down below in the video description, and I'll include the agent instructions and the example prompts. So if you want to recreate this in your own environment, feel free to do so. It'll only cost you a few dollars, if that, at the end of the month. I did try to use CloudFormation, but I couldn't get it working in a single CloudFormation. It just got a bit too messy, so I figured it'd be easier just to do it the old school way. So let's have a look at the customer service agent. We have to go into edit mode. So we have the instructions for the agent here. I haven't included any action groups or any knowledge bases on any of the agents, so I just kept it simple using the instructions only. But if we go down to the bottom, we can see this section here for the multi-agent collaboration. So if we view the collaborators, it'll give us a little graph of how they link together. So similar to the image I had earlier in the video. So we see the supervisor at the top, and this just echoes out some of the information for that agent itself. So nothing particularly interesting there. But if we click on any of these collaborations, you'll see a section there for the collaboration, and that's the link itself between the two. So it's got a unique name and an alias for that collaboration. And then there's also some additional instructions that relate to the collaboration itself. And that just tells the supervisor a little bit more information about how to use that collaboration. And then again, you've got some information on the agent below. If we look at the delivery, you'll see in the collaboration instructions that it says, do not answer technical questions, hand back to the supervisor. So that's just given a little bit of a hint on that collaboration on how it should be used. So in order to create this collaboration, what you have to do is you have to go and set up all of your sub agents first, and you have to save and prepare those agents, and you also need to create an alias. If you don't do that, then you can't set this up. And then you come back to your customer service agent, you click on edit down here, and you would toggle this on, and then you would choose your style. We're going with supervisor because I want the supervisor to just roll up all the responses and just be the sort of single point of contact, I guess. And then you would just add your collaborator. So I've got one for the 4 sub-agents. So you pick the agent, and then this is why you need the alias. You pick the alias, you have to give it a name, and then you have to put in some instructions for the collaboration. So go ahead and add all 4 of those. Just important to note that if you make a mistake on one of your child agents and you accidentally go into that child or that sub agent and turn on multi-agent collaboration and save it, then when you come back in, even if you turn that off, you can't save and get out because of this radio button. So when you turn that off, it hides this, but it still seems to capture that information. It's just a bug in the UI that they haven't fixed yet. So if you do that by accident, you actually have to go and delete the agent and recreate it, which can kind of be annoying if you've got tools and knowledge bases and whatever else configured. So just be aware of that. Only come in here for the supervisor agent. So that's pretty much how you configure it. So there we go. There's how you can add multi-agent collaboration into your Bedrock agents. It sounded quite scary at the start, but honestly, it wasn't that bad, was it really? So as we saw from the demo, the outputs can be a little bit hit and miss sometimes. And I think that's just a case of needing to iterate over the agent instructions and also the collaboration instructions, so it knows when to call the collaboration agents and when not to. One thing that we could do is we could refine the customer service agent instructions and get that to go and do more fact finding if it needs to before it calls the sub agents, and that will cut down on some of the chattiness between the 2 agents. But that wasn't the purpose of my video today. I'm not building a production system. I just wanted to sort of demonstrate how we can understand the intent from some of these prompts and then know how to call the different agents based on what they're asking, and then ultimately have the supervisor be able to wrap up the responses into something back to the customer. So I hope that was useful to you, and until next time, stay curious and keep learning.